Alex Jones is now raging over the fact that he was found guilty in the defamation lawsuit brought against him by the families of Sandy Hook victims. This was the Sandy Hook shooting that killed children, of course, and in response to that, Alex Jones referred to it as a false flag operation. Now, there were 4 different defamation lawsuits against him. He was found guilty in one of them, and that ruling has now served as the default ruling in the other 3 cases. So he has been found guilty of defamation. The judge, by the way, in the first lawsuit had provided multiple opportunities for him to comply with court orders, to turn over evidence in the discovery process. He ignored it, was really hard to deal with. And despite the numerous opportunities that he was given to comply, he refused to do it, and the judge found him guilty. Now, with that said, I do want to go to the first video of Alex Jones responding to this ruling, and we'll unpack it right after. Let's watch.
It's all a fraud, ladies and gentlemen. We hardly ever even talked about Sandy Hook. But there were a lot of anomalies, a lot of issues, but I do know that school shootings do actually happen. I just know they're not my fault. And I know I didn't kill those children at Sandy Hook. When you think about Sandy Hook, you think about the name Alex Jones, ladies and gentlemen. And that's just branding and brainwashing and propaganda. And they just say I'm guilty, 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 guilty for 4 years since they filed these ridiculous lawsuits. And they write articles saying I'm guilty. And then the judges just go ahead and say, you're not going to get a jury trial. You're defaulted. Now a jury will decide how guilty you are. And folks, they're going to double default. You understand that? They're going to double default. I told the lawyers this years ago. They're going to double default and not even let me be at the trial to decide how guilty I am. This is a joke. It's beyond a kangaroo trial. It's beyond a show trial. It's all.
First of all, no one has accused Alex Jones of being a shooter in the Sandy Hook mass shooting. I don't know why he brought that up. He is accused specifically of defaming the victims' families. The family that comes to mind is the Posner family. They had to move 7 different times because the disinformation and conspiracy theories that Alex Jones was sharing with his audience convinced them that it was absolutely a false flag operation, and they started harassing the Posner family. They lost a child in that shooting. It's an absolutely tragic story, and they, again, had to move 7 different times because they feared for their lives.
Yeah, so the reason he does it is misdirection, and it's a way of disrespecting your audience. He's saying, I don't think my audience is that bright. They're not gonna be able to follow along on the real issues. So he does 2 different misdirections here. He says, they're blaming Sandy Hook on me and I didn't kill the kids. No one said that ever, as Anna pointed out. No, what they're blaming you for is lying about that shooting in the first place and saying that it was crisis actors, it didn't happen, and blaming the parents and saying the parents were lying, including about one of them seeing their kid with a bullet hole in their head. I mean, it's the lies he said about that are disgusting. So the parents are suing civilly about those things that Alex Jones said. No one in their lawsuit said Alex Jones killed the kids. That'd be nuts. That would be a weirdo conspiracy theory. That would be what Alex Jones does. But there's also a second misdirection. He says, they're trying to punish me for my free speech and take away my free speech. No, the court said you have to comply with our orders. We're in the middle of a lawsuit here. You have to turn over this evidence, right? Exhibits and different documents, etc. And he said, no, I don't believe in the rule of law. I'm not gonna listen to an American judge. I don't believe in I guess he doesn't believe in the justice system. He doesn't believe in America at all. And he said, no, I'm not gonna follow your laws. Well, if you don't follow the laws, you lose. That's what happens. So, and so he's trying to misdirect you into thinking the judge ruled that he's not allowed to speak. No, the judge ruled that he was not complying with any court orders and was left with absolutely no choice, because you cannot continue the case if one side says, I'm not participating. And in extreme cases like that where they don't participate at all, the judge is forced to say the other side wins. And that's exactly what happened here. And the jury's gonna decide the damages. So understand how Alex Jones is lying to you.
Right, in fact, I mean, you could argue that the judge was encouraging speech from Alex Jones.
Yes.
Right? Here's your opportunity to defend yourself in these lawsuits. This is the discovery process. You're supposed to turn over these documents and what's being requested of you. He didn't comply, despite being given multiple opportunities to do so. So no, you're being encouraged to speak more, but okay.
Yeah, and he says, look, it's not that the mainstream media doesn't do branding and brainwashing, they do, right? But in this case, why is his name brought up with Sandy Hook all the time? The media never says he shot anyone. The media says he did outrageous, atrocious lies about Sandy Hook. And that's true, he did. Now, because he's in the middle of those lawsuits, he's like, oh, well, I mean, I know there's school shootings. That's not what you were saying before. You were saying they were crisis actors, right? And in court, he admitted, oh, what I do is a clown show, and no sane person would believe me. And so now he's embarrassed by those admissions. Maybe that's why he didn't want to participate in the case any longer, because then he'd have to go on the stand, he'd have to get deposed, and he would have to say on tape.
He'd have to speak more on the stand, right?
That would be his right that's right. But funny how that seems to be the opposite of what he's saying on air as well. But he would have to say on tape that you guys could all see with your own eyes, yeah, I'm a fraud. I lie to my audience to try to get more views and more money and to sell them brain shakes. So that's how so of course I didn't mean it. Only lunatics would believe me. And he didn't want to say that, and he lost the cases. So it is what it is. And I think the real question is, how much are they going to get from him? And if those judgments are significant, I know what he'll do next. He'll ignore that law and he'll say, I'm not going to pay freedom of speech, et cetera.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay what I've been ordered to pay by the court. So freedom of speech. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, look, that's their excuse for everything. You got pulled over for speeding, freedom of speech. I'm not going to pay the traffic ticket because freedom of speech. Okay, so he'll try that, but at some point, someone in government has to say, no, we actually have laws in this country, and you will abide by them, and if you don't, you'll go to prison. That's it. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.